So the running back battle is going to be a key position to watch for, at least when it comes to who's next after Pacheco and maybe CEH. Well, one back in particular has been working immediately after Pacheco for the 4th day in a row, which could mean good things for him if he can make the most of these opportunities. So I've got to talk about that and more camp highlights, but not before we look at Mahomes' contract continuing to look that much better. So let's get into it. But first, how about those? All right, first up, if you look at the wide angle, you're going to see a guy working over here. That's the new editor, Alex, and we don't have time today to have him go somewhere else while I record because we're trying to get this video out ASAP so I can spend some time with the fam. So he's going to be back there working, and we're going to get right into it. 2 big quarterback extensions happened yesterday, and I want to talk about it real quick before we get into camp practice and some highlights, takeaways, injuries, all that stuff. I want to talk about the QB stuff first because every time a quarterback gets paid, it moves them near to the top of the QB market, and then Mahomes appears to be even more underpaid in comparison. Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa was the first quarterback yesterday to get a deal announced, with Tua agreeing to terms on a 4-year, $212.4 million extension, and this now gives him an average per year of $53.1 million, which at the time was the highest in NFL history for a 4-year extension. And I say at the time because it didn't last very long. A few hours later, it was announced that the Packers got a 4-year extension done with Jordan Love. This was a 4-year, $220 million deal, and he is now the highest paid quarterback in NFL history despite only starting 1 full season. And this puts him all the way up there with Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence at $55 million per year. On top of that, he also got a record $75 million signing bonus plus $155 million in new guarantees. And now when you look at the highest paid quarterbacks on an average annual basis, you will see them as follows on most of these lists: Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts. However, last season, Mahomes got his contract reworked, and they basically moved a bunch of money from the back end of his contract to the front. And from 2023 to 2026, that made his average per year $52.5 million. So even though Mahomes' contract is technically much longer than that, he will most likely renegotiate by 2026 or maybe even sooner, and his average per year is much higher because of that. So yeah, Mahomes is still up there among the top paid, but we all know that none of those quarterbacks are as valuable as Patrick Mahomes. It's just how it goes when a team extends their franchise quarterback each year and the salary cap continues to rise. Each new QB will become the new highest paid or close to it. Mahomes deserves to be the highest paid, bar none. We know that. But don't let simpletons like Mike Florio try and fool you. Mahomes is paid more than the numbers show because of the duration of his contract that I just broke down. And the 10-year unicorn contract he signed has helped set the team up for much continued success. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get into today's practice. To start, wide receiver Justin Watson, who injured his foot during Thursday's practice, was not spotted out there. He was on the sidelines during Friday's practice, though, and Andy Reid described the foot injury as day-to-day, saying that he's working through it. And I have no idea how long he will be out, but hopefully it's nothing too serious. For what it's worth, Matt Derrick noted that Justin Watson was seen after practice taking passes off the jugs machine while kneeling down on one knee. He wasn't wearing a boot, no noticeable wrap or limp before he headed back to the training complex, so hopefully his return is very near. Then, safety Justin Reid is still watching while nursing that quad injury, but Xavier Worthy was back out there once again for the second day in pads, as he's doing better after getting overcoming strep throat from earlier this week. He's been a bit quiet so far at practice, but he's a rookie, a lighter guy. He's got to learn to fight through contact. And again, he missed most of OTAs due to a tweaked hamstring, and he's still being ramped up after being sick. So it's going to take some time. And while that is some good news, having Worthy back out there, we got some news that hopefully isn't bad, but defensive back Najee Johnson pulled up limping in one-on-ones today. And hopefully it's nothing serious, but he's been going through growing pains as he works back from that repaired ACL that he tore at last year's training camp. And according to Sam McDowell, he walked off the field on his own, got checked out in the tent, then looked like he wanted to rejoin practice, but eventually walked up the hill towards the locker room and wasn't seen again. And I'm pulling for Najee. He's been working with the first team defense, fighting for that starting cornerback 2 spot with Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson. but he's just got to get that knee right first and foremost. And with Nazi not out there, cornerback Keith Taylor was the guy in his stead with the first-team defense. Jamari Connor was at safety, and Keith Taylor was, for what it's worth, looking the part. Another player who headed up the hill during today's practice, but in the back of the cart was wide receiver Justin Ross. He got over to it on his own power, and then he ended up returning before the end of practice, so I don't know if he just needed some electrolytes, needed to take a dump, or what, but Ross was back out there working, so I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. Another player to keep eyes on is Kadarius Toney, who reportedly was spotted limping a bit and taking his helmet off after getting hit in 7-on-7. He did end up going back out there, so while it appears to be nothing serious and he's had a nice camp so far, talked about him more in yesterday's video, but his stock is definitely up compared to others like Sky Moore. My biggest question for Toney is, can he survive training camp from a durability standpoint and remain healthy enough for roster cut-down day? Well, we know he's very dangerous with the ball in his hands. He's versatile in the way he can be used in the pass game, run game, special teams as a returner. But his biggest concern is his durability. He had his ankle wrapped up for a bit now, and he will be one to watch as camp continues. Then as far as some interesting practice tidbits and highlights go, there's not a lot of highlights, guys. This edit is very simple because, again, trying to get this out quickly to spend time with the fam today. But Kingsley Suamataia was once again the left tackle for the first team offense, with Mike Caliendo working in the left guard spot with Joe Thuney still out on the PUP list. And this is now the second day in a row Kingsley has been at left tackle and Caliendo has been at left guard with the projected starters. Then running back Deneric Prince has once again been the second running back in immediately after Isaiah Pacheco for 4 straight practices. So that is definitely encouraging. I'm excited to see Prince out there, especially in these preseason games. I will mention though that Andy Reid said CEH is still being ramped up as he recently got over an illness. So we could see the pecking order change a bit in the near future. I'm still intrigued, though, by Deneric Prince as he enters year 2 with a full season of marinating on the Chiefs practice squad last year under his belt. This is going to be an interesting battle to watch out for, that running back 3 spot. And speaking of running backs, Louis Rees-Zammit could be seen taking a handoff here from Carson Wentz, but did not hit the right hole. It's just 1 rep, but it just further goes to show you that the main way LRZ is making the roster this year is going to be through special teams on returns. Dave Tobe mentioned him during his presser today. We'll talk more about special teams here in a bit. But LRZ is just so new to football. It's just going to take some time. He did take a direct snap today, for what it's worth, pushing ahead for a few yards. CEH also took a direct snap. Carson Steele could be seen playing some fullback and getting in a couple nice runs. Then, this is interesting, the Chiefs lined up with 6 offensive linemen, with Wanye Morris checking in as the 6th guy, an eligible receiver, and Mahomes targeted him for a touchdown pass. It was incomplete, but still, I like the idea, the attempt of working back towards another big boy touchdown this season. Mahomes later connected with Hollywood Brown off a play-action pass for a score, and he did the same on a play to Travis Kelce, where he somehow was left wide open for 6. I always wonder how the best tight end in football gets left wide open. Sometimes it's the defense's fault, but I think more times than not, it's Kelce's sneaky ability to get open regardless of the attention that he's getting. He spoke to the media today in his presser. Not going to break it down super in depth, but this is year 12 for him. And one thing he wants to work on is just being more healthy this year. Obviously, it's not like he was intentionally hurt and battling through injury last year, but it is a big thing, a big focus of his is just to stay healthy as he attacks year 12 with the Chiefs offense. He loves training camp, thinks that it's crucial and necessary. Like, offseason is great, but training camp is where boys become men and all that. So he's definitely excited to get out there and work and lead this team to hopefully get that 3-peat. Anyway, Hollywood Brown also reportedly made an impressive catch in the flats on a rollout from Mahomes, making a couple miss after the catch. Then if we look on the defensive side of the ball, Chris Jones blew up multiple plays and inside run period, could be seen going 1v1 against Kingsley Suamataia here, and has continued to look like the dominant player he is so far at camp. This is no real surprise, but I do think having offensive linemen go up against a guy that good is only going to help make them better. Here's some special teams notes. Yesterday, Harrison Butker boomed a 60-yard field goal. Good God almighty. Punter Matt Ariza, he punted the ball from the opposite 40 and it just died at the 4. Perfect punt. And in some punt returner news, the order for punt returns today was Mecole Hardman, Nico Remigio, Xavier Worthy, Kadarius Toney, and then Montrell Washington. The order, for the most part, makes sense to me as I have McCole making the 53-man roster with a good shot at being the team's primary punt returner, but I also like seeing Nico in there as the second guy in the rotation. He's a guy that's fighting for a roster spot, and if he has some value to Dave Toub, Toub can make his case to keep someone that has special teams value like Remigio over somebody maybe like Justin Ross. Now, Toub did speak to the media, and he shouted out a few people that he's seriously considering as the punt returner. He shouted out Xavier Worthy, Kadarius Toney, McCole Hardman, Hollywood Brown, and a guy who's done a really good job is Nico Remigio. There you go, some Dave Toub plug for Remigio. Then he said Butker, and regarding to kick returns, or kickoffs rather, Butker is going to be the primary kicker. He's the most accurate, but Justin Reed and LRZ can also be used if they need an extra coverage guy. LRZ is the guy who will get the first look in kickoffs. He's been working hard, and Toub is excited to give him a chance. So, with all that being said, let me know your thoughts on today's practice, camp standouts, who you're excited to see as the days go by. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?